Right, so the next definitions that we're going to talk about are going to be different types of bias. So a survey method is biased, right, if it has a tendency to produce untrue values. There are two main types of bias, either measurement bias or sampling bias. So the first type we're going to look at is going to be measurement bias. Measurement bias results from asking questions that do not produce a true answer. Right? In other words, it gives people an opportunity to lie. Possible sources of measurement bias, self-reporting of personal data, using confusing wording in a survey, the use of non-neutral language in questions. So depending on the situation, our measurement bias could come from either the person being surveyed or the actual survey itself. Right? So self-reporting of personal data would be bias coming from the person that's actually taking the survey, where the confusing wording or the non-neutral language would be from the person who created the survey. Our other type of bias is sampling bias. Sampling bias occurs when the sample does not represent the population. Two common possible sources of sampling bias: response bias. People only respond when they are passionate about a topic. Right? So maybe they fill out a survey and only if it's something that they feel strongly about. Or non-response bias. A large percentage of those surveyed do not reply. And sometimes these can go hand in hand. Right, so identify any source of bias in this next example. A survey asks people to report how much they weigh. This is a good example of measurement bias. Right, one of the causes of measurement bias can be self-reporting of personal data. When asked about their weight, it would not be uncommon for people to lie, right, giving us untrue values. Right, for B, a teacher at a community college sent out questionnaires to evaluate how well the administrators were doing their jobs. All teachers received questionnaires, but only 10% returned them. Most of the returned questionnaires contain negative comments about the administrators. So this is going to be an example of sampling bias. Right. Non-response bias is one type of sampling bias. That's when only a small portion of people participate in the survey. And then response bias, it happens when people feel very strongly about a topic. So this could be a case where the negative comments that were returned were because people felt strongly about this. All right, so for C, a hotel gives an internet poll to rate the hotel's performance. We're going to say that this could be another example of sampling bias. Right, and it could be some combination of non-response bias. Probably not a lot of people are going to participate. And response bias, because those that do are going to be ones that feel strongly about this topic. Right, then for D, a school district sends out a survey to all the school parents asking, do you favor the passing of a school board measure to provide additional resources to improve educational opportunities for your student? This one could be an example of measurement bias. Right, we have non-neutral language in here. Right, do you favor? Right, so non-neutral language. And this could also be another case of sampling bias. Same thing as the last couple examples. We may not get a lot of response to the survey, and those that do, right, could be from people who feel strongly about the topic. So a couple of questions underneath this example. So when we're thinking about doing samples and when we're looking at surveys, things that we want to be aware of: what percentage of those asked to participate actually did so? Did researchers choose people to participate in the survey, or did the people themselves choose to participate? If a large percentage of people who were asked refused, or if the people themselves chose to participate, the conclusion of the survey are suspect. So those cases could lead to some sort of bias.